Hello everyone! Today we're going to be going over how to do the moss stitch in crochet using US terms. The moss stitch is a very popular blanket stitch as it makes a very warm blanket, and it is also very popular for temperature blankets as it looks very interesting when you switch colors, and it also isn't too tall of a stitch. For today's tutorial I was using this big twist yarn in the color coral, as well as a 5.5mm crochet hook, though of course you can use whatever yarn and corresponding hook that you have. We're going to go ahead and get started with a slip knot, which you can do as always however is easiest for you. And then once you have a slip knot, we're going to chain an even number of chains. A really easy way, especially if you're making something like a blanket, is to just keep count of however many stitches that you have, and then you can lay it across a bed or something that would be the length that you would want it to be, and just keep going until you get to the length of the bed, for example. Alright, so I have my desired number of chains. I've chained 30. And what we're going to do in order to start on the first row is we're going to count the 4th chain from the hook. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to put a single crochet in that using US terms. So we're going to insert our hook into the chain. We're going to pull the yarn that's in the back there through the chain. Now we have 2 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through 2. Now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1, and we're going to skip this next chain after the one that we just worked into, and we're going to put a single crochet into the chain following that. So insert our hook, pull up the yarn through the chain, 2 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through both loops. Then we're going to chain 1 again. We're going to skip the chain that is underneath the one that we just worked into, and we're going to work a single crochet into the following chain. So insert our hook, pull up a loop from the yarn that's in the back, 2 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through 2, chain 1 again, and we're going to complete this process until we get to the end of the row. So I'll do a couple more with you, and then I'll meet you at the end of my chain. So skipping this chain, following the one that we just worked into, we're going to insert our hook into the next one, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, then chain 1, skip the next chain again, work into this next one here with a single crochet, yarn over, pull through 2, chain 1. So if you want to meet me at the end of your chain, I'm going to go ahead and finish up here. Alright, so I have 2 chains left. So I'm going to skip this one here that's following the one that I just worked into, and I'm going to finish by putting a single crochet into the last chain. So insert our hook, pull up a loop from the yarn in the back, yarn over, pull through 2. And now in order to turn our work, we're going to actually chain 2 times, 1, 2, and then go ahead and turn. Alright, so starting our second row here, what we're going to do for this row and for all of the rows for the rest of our project is we're going to be working a single crochet into the chain 1 space beneath us. So we're going to be skipping all of the single crochets that we worked in the previous row, and we're going to be working that single crochet into the chain 1 space. So skipping this stitch here, we're going to put a single crochet into this space right here. So you insert your hook, pull up a loop from the yarn that's in the back, yarn over, pull through 2. Then just like we did for the first row, we're going to chain 1, and that's going to be over the single crochet that we did for the previous row. So we're going to be working into the chain 1 space, and then we're going to be putting a chain 1 over the single crochet that we did previously. So skipping this stitch here, we're going to work a single crochet into this chain 1 space here. So insert our hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to work that single crochet again into this chain 1 space, skipping the stitch that's next to us. So insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, chain 1. We're going to be skipping this stitch here and working the single crochet into this chain 1 space beneath us. So insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. And then we're going to chain 1 again as always. And I'll do a couple more stitches with you, and then you can meet me at the end of the row. We're going to skip this stitch here, and we're going to be working a single crochet into the chain 1 space. So insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, then chain 1, skip this stitch beneath us, and we're going to be working here, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, chain 1. And I'll meet you at the end of the row again so we can go over how to finish the row and turn our work. Alright, so I have 1 stitch left for this row. So I'm going to be skipping this stitch beneath us, and I'm going to be working into this spot here. And this is actually the 3 chains that we skipped in order to start the first row. So I'm going to insert my hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. And then just like we did for the previous row, we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and then we can turn our work. And you can see again my project is a bit twisted, but the more that you work up, the more that it's going to right itself. So starting on our 3rd row here, we're going to skip this stitch, and we're going to work into the chain 1 space just like we did for the previous round. So insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to skip the stitch again and work into the chain 1 space. Insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and chain 1. So we're just going to be continuing this until we get to our desired length. So we're always going to be working into the chain 1 space, and then when we get to the end of the row, we're going to be chaining 2 in order to turn instead of chaining 1. So insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, then chain 1. So you can see that this, because we're working in single crochets, it's going to be a shorter stitch than some of the other stitches that we've gone over. And that also is a great reason why it is so popular for temperature blankets. Because again, with temperature blankets, you don't want a stitch that is super tall, because you do need to work either 365 or 366 rows for the year. So you do want a stitch that is fairly shorter so that when you get to the end of the year, your blanket is not too long. So it works really well for temperature blankets for that reason. I'm also going to just put this down for a second. I did work up just a little swatch with some random colors so that you could see just an idea of how it looks when you're changing colors. That's another reason why the moss stitch is so popular for temperature blankets, because especially when you have multiple colors, it makes a really pretty design and it looks very nice with all of the different colors. So I'm going to meet you once again at the end of the row, and then we're going to go over how to finish the row again. And then I'll meet you near the end of my project so we can go over how to finish our project. All right, so I have 1 stitch left, And you can see here that I'm actually going to be working into the chain 2 space that I did in order to end the row. So I'm going to insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, then chain 2 in order to turn my work. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to work a few more rows until I get to the desired length that I want for my project. And then I'll meet you when I'm at the end of my last row so we can go over how to finish our project together. I'm at what's going to be the last row for my project, but before we start that, I just wanted to take a look at the texture that the stitch has made. It's generally always easier to see the texture once you've had quite a few rows worked up. I'm just going to grab this smaller hook here so that we could point it out more easily. So you can see this right here is a single crochet, and it is staggered from the single crochet in the row beneath it, which is right here. So in each row, you're going to be working a single crochet over the chain 1 stitch. So what's going to end up is that you're going to have a pattern that looks like the stitches are staggered. Another thing I wanted to mention, since this is a shorter stitch working with the single crochet and the chain 1s, that it's going to make a blanket that is going to be pretty dense and pretty warm. So if that's something that you want in a blanket, this would be a perfect stitch for that. So I've chained 2 to turn my work, and then we're just going to work on this final row together and then finish our project. So just to get a little closer again, you see right here is a stitch. So I'm going to be working into this chain 1 stitch right here. So with a single crochet, then chain 1. And then you see right here, the 2 sides here, that's the single crochet that we're skipping. And we're going to be working into this chain 1 stitch again. And then chain 1. And then here again is the stitch that we're skipping, and we're going to be working into this chain 1 stitch. So I'm going to meet you again at the end of my row, and we'll go over how to finish our project together. Alright, so I'm at what's going to be my last stitch for the project. So you can see here I'm going to pull this chain 2 a little bit so we can see the space a little better. This right here is the stitch that we're going to be skipping, and then we're going to be working right here into this chain 2 space. So you may need to pull it a bit if you're not seeing it very well, but it is just a little space there between the stitch. So we're going to work our last double single crochet, and then I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to grab my scissors and cut off. And then I'm just going to pull my hook up and pull tight. And as always, you can knot there if you want to make sure that it is more secure. And then you just want to weave in this edge here back into the project, the end, and you'd want to weave in the excess from the slip knot that we did to start the project back in as well. But this is our finished project for the moss stitch. Please let me know, as always, if you have any questions in the comments down below, or if there are any stitches or projects that you'd like to see in a future video. Thank you.